Jerod Mayo will be named as the next head coach of the Patriots. The team, because they had a succession plan that was contractual and also filed with the league, they're able to bypass any interview process. They don't have to interview anyone. Jerod Mayo can be named head coach and will be named head coach officially in the coming days, and a press conference is expected next week.
That's pretty quick. Because I never even considered, having a succession plan to where you sort of bypass all that. I thought this was going to take a week or two. We sat here for the last couple of days, kept pointing at my clock like, hey, let's go. Teams are hiring right now. You didn't want to get caught behind the eight ball. But now comes the question, do you know who the GM too is? I think they might. I think they're going to hire Elliot Wolf as the GM. That's just a prediction. I don't know that for fact, but I think they like Elliott. I think he's a good football guy. Obviously coming up or being around his family. And I think he needs to do his own thing. He's interviewed for these spots before. And, working here and being alongside Jerod, I know Bill made final call. But still, you're there every day. I think you know how the defense works, the type of players Jerod is going to want to have. And you know the problems you got on offense. And I think you start on offense trying to fix that right away if you're the new GM. That's just taking a shot.
Ian Rappaport did report this morning the team will hire a GM. And he tweeted a little while ago that as the Patriots plot out a new direction and set out to hire a GM, a few names to consider with ties to New England. Former Raiders GM Dave Ziegler, former Titans GM John Robinson, Chiefs assistant GM Mike Borgonzi. Yeah, he's a local guy. He's got ties.
Italian.
Yeah, he's from the area. Bring him back. 49ers assistant GM Adam Peters.
He'll be gone first.
And Bengals executive Trey Brown. Those are the names that Ian Rappaport has thrown out there. You have said that Elliot Wolf would be a good internal candidate. Mm. Who else did you mention yesterday as a
Cam Williams.
Cam Williams.
Working under him, yeah.
Could be someone who factors into the front office. Maybe not as GM, but with an elevated role. Yeah. It's oddly specific that Zoe's thrown out there, Elliot Wolf and Cam Williams. So we will remember that, Zoe.
Yeah.
Zoe Stradamus. All right, let's get back to the head coaching, though, and that is Jerod Mayo being the head coach. Your thoughts on it?
I think he's a good guy, good man. I've known Jerod for a long time. I've talked to multiple people that aren't even players, and I have talked to players that said they will run through a wall for him. Now, is that just a bump because it's something new, or is that going to go on every week? The one thing I do worry about Mayo is in-game management. Okay, you can manage a defense. It's everything else, staring at the clock, staring at the sideline. Look at their substitutions and stuff Bill does. And you see every head coach, and they get the big Cheesecake Factory menu, and they stare at it. Bill doesn't do that. Jerod doesn't do that either. Sort of his own thinker. But he can control the defense. Can he control a whole team? And can he make the only thing I worry about is the inexperience in game. That's where Vrabel would have had the advantage over him. I'm not saying they should have got Vrabel. If you love this guy and you're in love with Jerod Mayo and you feel comfortable that he's going to turn this thing around for you, you hire him. And that's what they did.
I just wonder, did it enter into their mind, given that this is clearly a sped-up process from what they envisioned when they made the commitment that he was going to be their next head coach, right? I mean, they figured that's next year or the year after. Right. Belichick's got more time left than this.
Well, Bill screwed it up.
And so was there any hesitation at all in pulling the trigger and going to Mayo right away, especially if you're not even going to, not even doing interviews, not even going outside of the company echo chamber to see what other prospects might be out there, that maybe there would be somebody that you liked as much or better than Mayo who might be a better fit?
They probably did their homework. This process probably started, when Kern had a report going back to, October, whatever month we were in Germany. Probably even before that. When you got your ass kicked by the Saints and when you got your ass kicked by the Cowboys, you start looking around thinking, we might not be a good team. Well, we got problems. We might fix things at the end of this year. But that's a good question, Ryan. Like, who else can be out there? What hot offensive coordinator? And a lot of people thought, Jonathan would go towards an analytical guy. He's into the analytics of sports. This is another defensive-minded head coach. A lot of people don't like that.
Well, I think what you're hitting on is sort of the timeline. And because the timeline was accelerated, did it give them any pause? Did it get them to stop and say, is this what it is that we want to do. And I think that what we've learned over the last, let's say, year, I would even go back to the comments that Robert Kraft made on, was it Squawk Box? Was it CNBC? When he said about Bill Belichick, he said, you'd have to ask him, how much longer does he want to coach? We thought, well, that's kind of a weird comment.
Yeah.
You're leaving it up to Bill and as far as his contract and how much longer he wants to coach. And I think he legitimately wanted to coach 2 more years, and that's why they signed it up the way they did. Jerod Mayo's contract was set to expire after next year, as was Bill's. So Bill said, I'm going to do this for 2 more years. I'm going to break that record, and we'll see where this goes, and we'll be in a better place, and then Jerod can take over. And it's really being accelerated by 1 year's time is what it comes down to, right?
Yeah.
They're 1 year ahead of where they thought they would be. They thought this would be happening next offseason. And so I would say, if this was your plan to do it a year from now, what's the difference in doing it now?
Right.
Right. I mean, in terms of your hesitation and your thought process and what you're going to decide on, why would you decide against him now if a year ago you were already deciding he was going to be the guy after this coming season?
Yeah, you got to help.
It's
build
not
the
enough
staff.
of a gap.
Right.
And he's been drawing interest now for a few years as a head coaching candidate. He's had interviews. He interviewed with the Eagles. He turned down the Panthers last year when they tried to interview him. So it's not as if he's not a candidate already out there. So it's 1 year. Is 1 year going to stop you from hiring? And also, you have to factor in, they put this in a succession plan in a contract and filed it with the league, which is how they're able to get around any interview process right now. A little known rule. And we didn't know that they had done this.
Never.
They
talked
did.
about
They
it.
promised this guy the job.
Yeah.
That's been cleared up. He was promised the gig. So are you now going to hire someone else over Jerod Mayo after you have contractually set this up for him to be the successor?
If
you're not going to do that.
If it didn't go according to plan, then yeah, I'm at least going to see what's out there on the market. I think I would have taken a couple of weeks and said, you know what? We need to do some interviews. Let's go through the Rooney Rule. Let's bring in some people on the outside. I think it was Bert on the morning show this morning talked about when the Steelers hired Mike Tomlin. They were ready to hire Ken Wisenhunt, and they brought Tomlin in just because. And he was so impressive, they decided to go a different direction. So,
didn't that kind of happen with Flo down in Miami too?
Right.
Wasn't Miami? I thought Miami was going to go.
I think you're right.
Yeah,
But they didn't promise Ken Wisenhunt the job. It
Right.
wasn't contractually set up years in advance.
You know what? It wasn't what we thought. Also, our team just went 4-13.
Okay, here's what I
we
would
might
ask.
need to do a top to bottom clean out here because things have gotten way worse than we thought they were going to.
If you thought a year ago Jerod Mayo was your next head coach, what has Jerod Mayo done that would have changed your mind? He had a good year.
I thought
Defense had a good year.
Defense was good.
So you lose.
So what changes your mind?
You lost your 2 best players on defense, and you still had a competitive, very good defense. And then that report came out about him rubbing people the wrong way, and I thought he answered that fantastically. Yeah, it's my job as a leader.
I think the bigger question is, Ryan, because I sort of agree with you. I just disagree with now that you've done it. Now you backtrack and open it up. Why did you contractually?
Why did you
this?
commit to him for the first in the first place?
That to me is a better criticism of this. Why did they do this? Why did they put themselves in that box?
I also have serious problems with having a head coach in place, and now you're going to go find a GM. Now
They may have it.
Well, see, and there's a problem too. You need to get outside the echo chamber here, right? You got a 4-13 record, and you're basically going to bring back the same crew minus Bill Belichick,
right?
Put people in different roles, but it's the same people.
Where are the fresh eyes and fresh ideas coming from?
Yes. Who's Dr. No in the organization? Since Robert brought that up yesterday,
that's a good point.
Right? Who's saying to him, maybe it wouldn't hurt to talk to somebody outside the organization right now.